Nikki. Well, we are marking Halloween and all its traditions that include spooky pumpkins, trick or treat, and thinking about the spirit world. Let's welcome natural history scholar and author Sherilyn Darcy. Good morning.
Thank you.
Now, you brought a few things in here. What's the idea of the pumpkin and the flowers and the apples? What does it all mean?
Well, these all go back hundreds and hundreds of years, and they all started in areas that were all rural. And Halloween is actually a festival, a pagan festival that celebrates the harvest, which can be a bit funny for us here because it is a Northern Hemisphere celebration. So you see things like pumpkins and apples and all the colours of what we'd call autumn coming along. But it's been picked up by us in the Southern Hemisphere, first in America and then in Australia as well. And that's how we start to celebrate it, and that's why we see all these things around this time. So it's about protecting the harvest and about getting people together in villages to understand the seasons and to understand their plants and to be able to look after the earth as well. So it's actually something that's quite relevant, I think, to today as well.
But is it been going for a long time, Halloween?
Yeah, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. But it was called, it's known as Samhain. That's what it's known as. And it's
known as what?
Samhain, which is a pagan term. So it's the wheel of the year, and these festivals were all created so that they could mark the changing of the seasons. So we're looking at, and the actual night, All Hallows Eve, which is this evening, was also believed to be the night when the dead walked upon the earth. It was the end of the year.
Right.
People were hibernating. They were starting to put things like pumpkins and their wheat and their corns and things like that away so they could survive. And the reason that we all dress up in costumes and look so fabulous is because the dead would be walking around on All Hallows Eve. It was supposed to be their magical night. They could come around and they could walk upon the earth. So people would dress up in costume because they'd want to sort of blend in, a bit like sort of like The Walking Dead, where you wouldn't be seen.
So by rights, if a kid turns up to your front gate or your front door today, you could give him a flower.
Oh, you could. It was more like...
They'd be really unimpressed. But, I prefer a lolly, but yeah, all right.
But you could go here.
And that's where it comes, the trick-or-treating comes from that, because people would put treats outside to appease these spirits and ghosts and feed them. It was like, here, have some of these treats, some of my harvest, and don't come and steal the rest. That's what that was about.
Oh. And so could you put spells on people? Like did they put spells on people?
No, most of it was about divination and doing spells to ensure that they survived the cold harshness of the northern winters as well. You remember, it's the end of the year. A lot of people would die over the winter as well. So, and these people, this is how they would sort of ensure, it's almost like a little superstition as well. So they would ensure that they would survive, so they would create spells that would incorporate different things, different plants and maybe even animals as well, and things that they knew to protect themselves.
So there's some hazelnut spells and some elder tree spells.
There's lots and lots of spells, and they would do love spells as well, because you'd want to attract somebody as well to
Well, what if you did that spell and you attracted that person, and then you realised that person wasn't all that you thought they were to be? Can you reverse the spell?
Can you swipe left instead of right?
Swipe left? Is that where garlic comes into it?
Exactly. You grab some garlic, but also you'd have to be careful with the spells that you cast as well. And you couldn't then and you can't now change the will of someone. It's just about changing the energy around what's happening at the time. That's what it is.
We were talking about tattoos before.
Yes.
Can I...
Oh, look, I know. My daughter is actually a tattoo artist, so I can't get away from it.
Can we look?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, I never thought I'd ever have a tattoo in my life. But every time I've had a title published, my daughter, Madison, who is just lovely, has created a tattoo to celebrate each of the...
Passion decides fate, it says.
Yes, you've got this written.
You know, I'm a bit of a Frida Kahlo freak, and it's supposed to be... It's a bit hazy, but it's supposed to be a little quote that
But
Diego
you've got
Rivera
the
said.
flowers and the...
Every single one of those is a title, is 11 titles,
So you've written lots of books.
Lots,
yes.
yeah, all on...
And so what are your favourite flowers?
Well, my favourite flower, well, the sunflowers at this time of the year, of course, where we're coming into the sunflowers, because they're all about strength and keeping you happy and going as well. And I love peonies. I know last month we all spoke about peonies. Unfortunately, we can't really grow them in this area, but I love peonies and I love daisies because they're all about happiness. Who doesn't love a daisy?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Sherilyn has 2 books out now on the fascinating subjects of herb spells and flower spells. And for more on love spells, go to 10 Daily. Sherilyn, thank you so much.
Thanks,
One quick
Sherilyn.
question before you go. Should Halloween have an apostrophe in it?
Should Halloween? Look, it just
It's
depends where you come.
Halloween.
Halloween. It should, originally, yes, but I mean, it's like anything. It's evolved a bit.
That's something we're going to be discussing later. I just thought I'd bring it up.
All right.
Thank you so much. After the break, we'll check the latest news headlines